Everyone listens when Joe Burrow talks, and when Joe Burrow implies he's not having very much fun, well, the world pays attention, and the Bengals better make football fun for Joe Burrow.
You are Locked On Bengals, your daily Cincinnati Bengals podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What up, Bengals fans, and welcome to another episode of the Locked On Bengals podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. He's James Rapien, I'm Jake Liscow, and we are your hosts of Locked On Bengals, your one-stop shop for all things Bengals as the Bengals gear up for their second contest with the Baltimore Ravens this year, looking for their first 2-0 year against Lamar Jackson ever. Well, first we're going to have to get started with what Joe Burrow had to say in his weekly press conference on a Wednesday that certainly stirred up a tizzy of comments that leads to guys like Dan Orlovsky talking about what teams should be trying to trade for Joe Burrow, which is asinine, but we will discuss it nonetheless before we get to an interesting contest with the Baltimore Ravens at Paycor this weekend that technically has some implications and is certainly a game that the Bengals want to win, if for no other reason, to knock out a division rival from the playoffs. That could be some incentive. But James, let's start with Joe Burrow, who had an interesting press conference, let's say, on Wednesday. He's clearly not having a good time, let's say. That was my takeaway as I watched it. He is not loving the way this season is going, very understandably so, working through yet another injury that he gets back from, plays at a high level again, and the team loses despite him playing at a high level again. Feels like 2024 all over again, feels like all the injuries he's had throughout his career are certainly on his mind, and he's just not loving it as he had his 29th birthday on Wednesday.
Yeah, there's a lot here. And as you were talking, I was like, hey, you know what? We should actually hear the clip from Joe Burrow that a lot of people are talking about, that a lot of people are discussing. Because, boy, oh boy, is he Andrew Luck? Is he going to go pull a Carson? Is he going to go to this team, that team? Is it going to be a Matthew Stafford situation? All these situations have been mentioned. And so let's start with Joe Burrow's comments on Wednesday.
If I want to keep doing this, I have to have fun doing it. I've been through a lot, and if it's not fun, then what am I doing it for? So that's the mindset I'm trying to bring to the table.
How much of it was fun before? Winning's always fun, but in general, was it as fun before you got hurt? Did you view it that way at least?
No, I wouldn't say I viewed it that way. I think.
What was the changing point?
Changing point. I'm not sure there was a singular moment or of time. It's just a reflection on a lot of things that I've done and been through in my career. I think I've been through more than most, and certainly not easy on the brain or the body. So just trying to have fun doing it again.
You seem like there's something on your mind, or maybe I'm reading too much into it, but it seemed frustrating.
There's just a lot of things going on right now.
All football related, personally?
All the above.
All of the above. Those are mostly the comments that you'll see circulated. You'll see those quotes. Look, have you had fun doing? I know you enjoy doing the podcast, to be clear, but have you had fun as a Bengals fan, Jake, this season?
I had fun when the Bengals beat the Steelers that one time.
Yep.
And Joe Burrow's return was fun. Yeah. 1-8?
1-8
without him.
Yeah.
That wasn't very fun. The Jake Browning games, not very fun. The defensive meltdowns against the Jets, the almost miracle win against the Bears. It's not fun when you endure that stuff week after week. And it's so familiar, like I said, to so many of the things I went through in 24 that just didn't get fixed.
And here's the worst part is, as we record this on Thursday, we're 83 days since Joe Burrow underwent surgery for that grade 3 turf toe. 83. He came back at the 69-day mark. Should have came back at the 65-day mark. I'm never going to let that go, Zach. Sorry. Came back at the 69-day mark 2 weeks ago. And he busts his butt, does everything he can to get back, defies all these timelines, gets back, beats the Ravens, and hangs 34 on the Bills' head. And he looks up and they have a 3% chance at the playoffs if they win out, which I'm sure he thinks they still can do. They have a 27% chance at the playoffs. That sucks. That's really tough. And so to come to grips with, I did all of this rehab, all of this work, all of this, and our season's over. That's a really hard thing to swallow, to digest. I do think that the fact that he was turned 29 on Wednesday, I'm sure that was on his mind too. Like, I don't have a Super Bowl and I'm 29. Like, that probably bothers him. I don't have a shot at one this year. The next time I'm going to get a shot at one, I'm going to be 30. Like, there's a lot that will hit you. And so I don't buy the Andrew Luck thing. Never have. I don't buy he's going to ask out and these teams are going to be trying to trade for him this offseason. I don't think he's there yet. I don't dismiss that. I completely dismiss the Andrew Luck scenario. Joe Burrow is not Andrew Luck, and we don't need to get into it unless you want to, which I'd be happy to. But overall, like, he's frustrated. He's not having fun. Guess what? Our everydayers aren't either. It's been a tough season. And so when you throw in the fact that he had to rehab and undergo surgery and do all of that, and he's at the same spot essentially that he was last year, even worse, their first losing record clinched since 2020, I get why he's feeling the way he's feeling.
I think it's totally reasonable to empathize with his situation, and a lot of people really easily can, because like you said, it hasn't been fun for anyone, but extrapolating what that means is where people want to jump to conclusions. You got, like I said, Dan Orlovsky talking about teams trying to trade for him if he asks out, which I just don't think we're there. Maybe we get there. This could be the moment we point back to and say, this is where the dissatisfaction started. But think about Joe Burrow and the way that he's generally quite calculated with what he says to media. And there are a lot of pauses that you might have noticed in the clip that we played. If you go watch the whole press conference, a lot of pauses where he is considering how exactly he wants to answer questions that he's trying to give relatively honest answers to, as much as he's willing to divulge, right?
Mm-hmm.
There are a couple of things. One, I don't know that we need to talk about the Andrew Luck comparison. I agree that I don't think that
it's dumb
is really what's happening here. I do think that they need to do better by him.
Sure.
The Carson comparisons, while I don't think you're there yet, that could bubble up. That could be something that's happening. I don't think.
Well, could he demand a trade? Yes, for sure. Yes.
Yeah, you can't rule that out, but likely what's happening is there's conversations happening behind the scenes, and Joe could be also using his publicly visible comments as a way to send a message to the front office that says, hey man, we need to figure this thing out, because he was asked this question in this press conference early on. Was it you that asked? He said he felt like he played pretty perfect, and obviously he wanted the interceptions back, and he was asked about those interceptions, what he could have done differently on the pick six in particular, but he did play really well. And he's got to be sick of playing really well and having 10-point fourth quarter leads and then feeling like, well, we need to go score 40.
Exactly.
We need to go score 49. We need to go score 56 to win some of these games. And so it could just be as simple as, yeah, we're having conversations behind the scenes, or we're going to, but this is a warning. This is a communication to those who make decisions about this football team.
Yeah, it could be. And changes do need to happen. We're going to be at the forefront of that. I don't know of anyone that's going to talk more about what they need to do this offseason, all the changes that need to happen, the players they need to add, the talent they need to add, whether or not certain coaches should be here, whether or not certain members of the front office should be here. All of those things are coming for sure on this podcast. But the Bengals can still make them. They can still do them. And that's why, like, there's no way in hell Joe would want to go to the Jets, who are a dumpster fire of dumpster fires, right? Like, that's an example. That's why that was a season-defining loss, because it's the Jets, and you were up It's because of how crappy the Jets are. Let's be real. They've never recovered from that. Like, that's it. That defined their season. Instead of 4-4, they're 3-5, and that's it. It went off the rails. And so, yeah, there might be one or two more things to hit on here, but we obviously have a game to discuss as well. It's Bengals, it's Ravens. There are playoff implications. Worst case, you can really put the Ravens and their playoff chances in jeopardy. We'll get to that and maybe talk a little bit more about Joe Burrow coming up next. Today's show is brought to you by ZocDoc. Guys, it's almost 2026, and the days of waiting for something to become a full-blown emergency before you see a doctor, they're over. No more walking it off for 6 months. No more pretending your weird shoulder stiffness is just sleeping wrong. It's time to take your health seriously, and ZocDoc makes it easier than ever. ZocDoc is made, honestly, Jake, for people like me, because staying healthy is more than just hitting the gym or eating right. It's about getting things checked out when something feels off, which I admittedly have been historically bad at. Using ZocDoc makes scheduling easier, and that's a big part of it, right? You search for in-network doctors, and boom, you can book it right in the app. You don't have to call on the phone. You don't have to talk to Bertha and see what the calendar is. No. You can go right in the app and figure it out. It makes it simple to keep your health a priority, even with a busy schedule. And the app is quick, clean. Honestly, it removes all of the stress of finding the right doctor. All you have to do is go to ZocDoc/LockedOnNFL, ZocDoc.com/LockedOnNFL. Stop putting off your doctor's appointments. Get the care you need right now. Go to ZocDoc.com/LockedOnNFL to find and instantly book a top-rated doctor. That's ZocDoc.com/LockedOnNFL, ZocDoc.com/LockedOnNFL.
We're also brought to you today by Car Gurus, and Car Gurus knows that car shopping should feel exciting and not confusing. And with Car Gurus, you get the confidence you deserve. You cut through all the noise so you can actually see the best deals on the cars that you want, because when it comes to a big purchase, you deserve the best deal. And Car Gurus makes that whole process simple by giving you the information you need, real deal ratings, and more listings than anyone else, so you can shop the way you want. Use Car Gurus deal ratings to quickly compare cars without having to guess whether the price is fair. You'll love being able to filter by everything, whether it's mileage, trim, features, so you're only seeing the cars that actually fit what you need. Car Gurus connects you with trusted dealerships for a transparent and hassle-free buying process. With over 4 million listings and most of any major online automotive marketplace, you'll always find the best deal. So you can shop the way you want with the tools, data, and unbiased deal ratings that make it easy. Buy or sell your next car today at cargurus.com. That's CARGURUS.com. Cargurus.com.
All right, Jake, let's continue the conversation with Burrow real quick. Obviously, they go as he goes, and so making it fun for him should be priority one, and fun is winning. Joe's been used to winning. Joe wants to win. Joe's competitive. That's why I mentioned the days, by the way. Now is when we should be talking about like his window opening, 83 days after surgery, not the what was it? Like 55 days when his practice window opened, and then 69 days when he returned to the field. Like this, it was a little off. I'm a little off on the 55, but you get the point. And that's going to be a huge topic all off season long, no matter what happens over the next 4 weeks or 5 weeks, or if something crazy happened, making sure that they avoid whatever the hell has happened over the past 3 seasons with Joe Burrow in his prime is got to be number one on anybody's list inside the organization.
Yeah, we've talked about it a lot. It feels like in the last 2 years, how frustrating it must be to play the level of football he's playing. Some of the best quarterback, if not the best quarterback in the NFL when he's been on the field, and losing. And that continues, I'm sure, to compound. And when you add the turf toe injury into the mix, I'm sure, we've said it just gets worse. It's something that a human being still has to deal with, no matter what level of mental toughness you have. And he's still going out there and performing. I still expect Joe Burrow to go out there and have a good game against the Baltimore Ravens this week. That's the standard to which we hold him. That's the level of play we've seen from him in 2024 and in 2025. Now he's playing an extremely high level of quarterback, but we've played the what if game. James, we've talked about what if they hold on against the Jets? What if they hold on against the Bears? What if they have just a little bit of margin for error? What if for Joe, those aren't really what ifs. It's like, man, they could not win without me. They won one game when I was gone. And I busted my butt. Like you said, I busted my butt to get back here early and give ourselves a chance. If they had just won 2 more games without me, man, we would be in prime position right now. That's how he would feel, right? And instead, no one's really talking about the playoffs. Is a Joe Burrow quote. Like, we're not really thinking about the playoffs right now. We're just thinking about going out there and putting good football on tape and trying to win games, trying to play good football. That's a terrible place to be when you have Joe Burrow, and it's also invoking the comparisons to, like the Dan Marinos and the other similar bursts of playoff success for great quarterbacks and great players in the past that didn't get back to that spot. And it's ridiculous that you're thinking about that with Joe Burrow now, looking at missing the playoffs 3 straight years after 2 straight AFC championship appearances, one of those being a Super Bowl appearance.
Yeah, because I sort of think that Joe, because he gets compared to a bunch of different guys, but it feels very Indianapolis, Peyton Manning, Joe Burrow, Cincinnati, like Midwest, number 1 pick, comes in, completely changes things. But Peyton, before he won a Super Bowl, they were going 12-4, 13-3, 12-4.
Every year. And just ran into Tom Brady.
Every year it was like they're in the conversation. And so, yeah, I'm sure like that's a huge factor. And there are going to be some that say, all right, well, Joe Burrow's health, and that's fine, like the wrist especially. But last year, obviously they should have been in it. And this year, they still should have been in it. They should have been able to survive. And the fact that they haven't, and probably in his mind, that's coaching, that's front office, that's lack of talent on the roster. It's all of the above. Because the front office has to blame for some of that coaching. I think elite coaches, not just good coaches, elite coaches, what do? They win some of these tight games. And they find ways and paths and game plans to do that. And I know that's easy to say, but I just do. I think that that's something that some coaches in the league would have been able to do and pull off. And that's the difference between having 6 wins right now and 4 wins and being in the hunt. So I get it. I get all the frustration. I get the historically, when you look at it, he probably is Peyton Manning versus Brady. And will he get that one here? A lot of people are going to be wondering, and the Bengals need to do everything they can to get it. And we've talked about it for 17 minutes now, but that's going to be something we spend a lot of time covering.
Yeah. Meanwhile, the Bengals play a football game in a couple days. The Bengals will be playing against the Baltimore Ravens for the second time this year. They have not beaten Lamar Jackson twice in a season ever. So, can they do it? So many people make so much noise about the head-to-head records of quarterbacks and all these things. Joe Burrow's played great football against the Baltimore Ravens. Obviously, Jamar Chase has played great football against the Baltimore Ravens. In surprising news that we probably haven't talked about yet, I assume this didn't come up on the crossover, Tee Higgins practiced in a limited capacity on Wednesday. That's going to be something that we really have to keep an eye on. I am still worried about Tee Higgins, quite frankly, but I'm hoping that what it means that he practiced in a very limited capacity in a light practice on Wednesday. I'm hoping that just means that it's not that bad, whatever's going on with it.
Yeah.
That whatever we saw on Sunday wasn't as bad as it looked. I hope that is the case. But if he doesn't play, that's another game. I mean, the Ravens have dodged Higgins for what feels like years and have just been dealing with Jamar Chase out there. But big game for Joe Burrow and these Bengals to go 2-0 against the Baltimore Ravens, who are having their own difficult year. Lamar Jackson's hampered by those leg injuries in some way, shape, or form, not making guys miss this year in a way that he has in years past. The missed tackles that are such a regular part of his game, not a thing this year. And well, James, I've been talking long enough that I'll let you respond to me and talk about some of the biggest stories in this Ravens game for the Cincinnati Bengals here in just a minute, coming up next.
Today's show is brought to you by Prize Picks. Prize Picks, well, it's the daily fantasy app that you need because this holiday season, it's one of the best times for sports, bowl games, big basketball matchups, playoff pushes, hopefully playoff pushes in Cincinnati, right? And it's all happening at once. And that's what's fun with Prize Picks is it's daily fantasy, and it's daily fantasy that is going to make things a ton of fun. And by the way, all you do is pick more or less on at least 2-player projections, lock in your lineup, and you're in the game. It's simple, fast, available in 45 states, including California, Texas, Florida, and Georgia. And so let's say you think Joe Burrow is going to throw for more than his Prize Picks projection on passing yards and run for more than his Prize Picks projection on rushing yards. You could put that together. You could combine that if you wanted with Chase Brown rushing yards and more than his projection, and boom, just like that, you have a play that can start making you money today. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 on lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. All right. Yeah, let's dive into I forgot that I was going next, Jake. That's right. Let's dive into some of the things I'm watching for. In the first one is this defense. And let's be honest here. If Lamar is Lamar, if he's closer to healthy, we just saw what Josh Allen did. That's scary. Like healthy Lamar is scary. It's very frightening. Like I think of the path to victory here, and I do it every single week. And first things first, you hope Lamar is still a little hampered, because otherwise he might make you look silly. He might make those linebackers look silly that are trying to guard Mark Andrews and not be historically bad against tight ends as well, and guard Isaiah Likely, who's now suddenly playing for a contract elsewhere, and everything that goes in and is involved in that. So that's one of the thoughts. The other one is he's not going to give you the ball. Like it was like a donation on Thanksgiving, it just a leather football sized canned good that he gave to the Bengals multiple times. I just don't anticipate that being the thing that can happen. And a lot of these things are on defense, because I do expect Joe Burrow in this offense, even if they don't have Tee Higgins, and I don't expect them to handle themselves well. But the thing that Baltimore probably is kicking themselves about in that first game that they can't do this week is just get away from Derrick Henry. I would lean in on Derrick Henry fully, and he only had 10 attempts. I would give him 15 to 20 and tell myself that going in. Now, maybe if Lamar is amazing and the human joystick, you don't have to, but you're going to have to slow down Derrick Henry if you're the Bengals.
I mean, just turn on the Bills tape for how to attack this Bengals defense. You run the ball in early downs, get into some third and manageable situations. You go for it on fourth downs. You throw to your tight ends. You go to that play action over to your tight end 3-4 times, however many times you need it. You find your tight ends in all sorts of different ways. Get your receivers involved, or get your running backs involved as receivers as well. Keaton Mitchell, get him out on the perimeter again. So many ways that are on tape to deal with this Bengals team. And the Bengals, in their 2-week run of me starting to think, maybe Al Golden's finding something, they started blitzing more. And then against the Bills, what did I say going into that game? Well, now those blitzes are on tape. Now the Bills know what your money down packages are. And that 40-yard touchdown run, Deion Dawkins is talking after the game on a podcast about how David Edwards told him, like, hey, this blitz is coming. Make sure you widen out to force that edge rusher to have to take a difficult angle to Josh Allen. And that's where Deion Dawkins, and I talked about this on some episode this week, he gets so much depth that he manages to, as one player, kind of take two guys out of the play, make Cedric Johnson take a bad angle, because he gets so much depth that Johnson thinks, I might actually have to engage with this guy. He might be letting the inside rusher go. And then he didn't. And then the angle is too wide. Josh Allen gets through a arm tackle, and takes it all the way for 40. Like, those blitzes are on tape now. Baltimore has experienced them firsthand. So now you need different answers, because the Bengals got a lot of pressure to Lamar Jackson in that first game. And a lot of that pressure was because of free runners, manufactured pressure, and a lot of it was coverage pressure, where the back end held up. In game 2, can't go back to that same well. And honestly, James, after listening to the way Al Golden talked about some of the calls they used against Josh Allen and why they lost on those calls, I'm concerned about his approach to how he's picking his spots for certain calls, like just because they worked last time or something like that. You know what I mean? Like other teams have tape too. And so where I had confidence because of what the Bengals did against Drake May early in that Patriots game, and obviously he figured things out. And what the Bengals did to get pressure to Lamar Jackson, 45% pressure rate the last time they played. I feel like the Ravens are going to have answers, and now it's back to like, well, do you have a way to counterpunch? Can you adjust again if you're Al Golden in this defense? Because the larger sample size says no, and that gets challenged this week.
Yep, it does, and I do wonder, one, how that happens. Like, I don't think Al Golden is an historically bad coach, and he may end up as one, right? Like, I don't. Now, he's got to prove it. I just don't know. I don't know what they were hoping to have, how they were hoping to play this year, because even when they've had a lead, like because, Zach Taylor talks all the time about, oh, well, we got to play out in front and have a lead, and even when they've had that, they haven't been able to keep it, and so it's weird. I don't know if they're just vision, their plan, the way they built it, they did what they thought would work, and it just hasn't worked. I don't know if it's that simple. I don't know if there's more to it. I am on a positive note on the defense, and I know some have wondered or asked, and I think Shamar's back this week. It feels like it. I think he's going to push to be back. And what a big 4 games for Shamar Stewart, just to get some kind of positive momentum moving forward. And it's a big 4 games. You're right, for Al Golden too. But this one will be rough. If you go on the road to Baltimore, win, you're fighting for your season, you lose a heartbreaker to Buffalo, and then you lose at home to the Ravens. And let's say it's the same old issues on defense. Be a really, really painful thing to digest on a December 14th day at Paycor Stadium. That's going to be like -10 with the wind chill. It's going to be really, really, really cold. And so this defense, you're right. Will they be able to adjust? Do they feel like they have the personnel to make the adjustments they want to make? I think that's the other question that we'll never get the answer to, at least not before the game, but certainly one that is worth asking.
Yeah, I don't see. I've said this before, and then they've had those couple little spurts of looking like they know what they're doing, but like I don't see where these linebackers getting better. Who was it? Dan Graziano? Was it Graziano? Was it Fowler? There was an ESPN report this week that was like Al Golden, might be back with the Bengals. Those linebackers have developed. I'm like, huh? What? Like I just haven't seen it. I don't see the improvement from those guys. Maybe as tacklers, like maybe that's gotten better, but in terms of understanding where to be, in terms of taking away the things that they need to take away, I just don't see it, and it's exacerbated, of course, by we like what Joseph Osai and Miles Murphy are doing, but a pass rush that's still too toothless and safeties that are inconsistent. And Jordan Battle's been a little bit better, but Geno Stone certainly the model of inconsistency. That all makes it worse. There's no knockout punch from this defense, especially without Trey, who is officially on IR as you're listening to this episode. And so it makes it tough to see where the improvement comes from for the defense. But again, I'm talking about the same thing I'm talking about with the Bills. Like, can you hold the Ravens to a couple field goals and get a couple takeaways? Because if you do that, then I think Joe Burrow has a chance to do enough to win you the game. And the timing of that maybe matters a little bit, but you get a couple takeaways, you steal a couple points, you keep 8 points off the board by forcing the Ravens to settle for a couple field goals, you get a takeaway or two, then I think that Joe Burrow should be able to do it, because the Ravens still don't have, they're going to try to scheme up the pass rush again. That's what the Ravens do. They still don't have guys that are winning one-on-one in the pass rush, and the offensive line has played great football for the last 2 weeks, and they're playing again against one of the teams that they just played great football against, except they're doing it at home this time. Seems like you should expect the offensive line to continue to play well. If the offensive line continues to play well, Joe Burrow is going to find a way to get the ball where it needs to go. That's what he's done. Even the interception, even the pick six was him running the play as designed. Max Toscano has a great breakdown of that over at BengalsTalk.com. Could have done something different with the pass, and he said that ends up being a fatal mistake, but he's getting the ball where it's supposed to be, and that's leading to explosive plays. That's leading to efficient offense. Hopefully Chase Brown looks better this week since there won't be snow on the ground.
I I talked to a few guys about that.
Yeah.
And that was like a real thing. And not just for Chase Brown. For
Oh, no, sure.
no, like, but like it didn't affect T as much, I guess. I haven't talked to T, but Jamar had 1 catch for 13 yards in the first 3 quarters. I'll just throw that out there. I don't want to.
Well, and a lot of that is the Bills spending a lot of resources on Jamar. That's why T has a lot of targets, a big game. Mike Gesicki has a big game. And Joe's going to spread the ball around. I still expect the offense to do the thing this week. So if the defense can do anything, I think they should have a chance at it. And you just got to take care of the ball the way that they weren't able to in the fourth quarter last week.
All eyes on the defense, as always, but certainly against a Ravens team that outside of Thanksgiving has had their number when it comes to this Bengals defense, as has everybody. Everybody has the Bengals defense's number right now, including Josh Allen.
Making a bunch of players look like Pro Bowlers, if not all pros. That's going to do it for this episode of the Locked On Bengals podcast. We'll be back with you after the game. Thanks for tuning in today. And if you're an everydayer, make sure you're subscribing so you can get the latest episodes. And, well, if Locked On Bengals made your Spotify Wrapped, you can prove it on social media to get a free month of our brand new Everydayer Club. You can just tag the National Locked On Podcast Network account on any social platform and we'll drop you a code. You can be one of the first to join the Everydayer Club. You can get Locked On Bengals ad-free and exclusive access to the members-only Discord channel. And for those of you on video, you can check out the 24/7 National NFL YouTube channel as well. If you're interested in joining the Everydayer Club, you can check it out at lockedonbengals.supercast.com. And until the post game, thanks for listening to this episode of the Locked On Bengals podcast. Hoo day, and have a good one.